Something massive is happening in software engineering right now. And I'm not just talking about a new framework or some shiny new tool. No, this is a fundamental rewiring of the entire profession. It's happening so fast that even the people at the very, very top are scrambling to keep up.
And when I say the top, I mean the absolute top. This whole conversation really exploded thanks to a pretty shocking admission from Andrej Karpathy. This is one of the key minds in AI, formerly a big deal at Tesla and OpenAI. So imagine this. It's the day after Christmas, December 26, 2025. He gets online and posts something that just sends a jolt through the entire industry.
He just comes out and says it. I've never felt this much behind as a programmer. Just let that sink in for a second. If one of the most brilliant engineers on the planet feels like he's falling behind, what does that mean for the rest of us? It means the ground isn't just shifting, it's completely breaking apart beneath our feet.
And look, Karpathy didn't just call it a shift. He went way bigger. He framed this whole thing as a cataclysmic event, a magnitude 9 earthquake that is rocking the very foundation of what it even means to write code.
And what's really important to get here is that this wasn't just one guy's hot take. His post opened the floodgates. All these other industry leaders jumped in, saying, yep, me too. The consensus is crystal clear. The profession is being, as he put it, dramatically refactored. The actual amount of code a human programmer contributes is just shrinking. So here's the bottom line. He calls it a magnitude 9 earthquake, and then gives a very clear warning. Roll up your sleeves to not fall behind. This isn't some gentle, slow evolution we're talking about. It is a sudden, almost violent transformation, and the time to adapt is right now. So what in the world is causing this earthquake? Well, it's the arrival of a totally new layer of technology that programmers are now having to wrestle with. And the thing is, it behaves unlike anything we have ever seen before. Karpathy has a name for it, a new, programmable layer of abstraction. The easiest way to think about it is like a new command center that sits on top of all the traditional code we used to write. But this layer, it doesn't speak Java or Python. It speaks in prompts, agents, and context. And it's what we call stochastic, which is a fancy way of saying it's unpredictable. It works with probabilities, not the clean, perfect logic we're all used to. He has this perfect way of describing what it feels like to use these new tools. He says, clearly, some powerful alien tool was handed around, except it comes with no manual. And boy, does that hit home. It feels like every developer on Earth has been handed this incredibly powerful, almost magical device, but nobody gave us the instruction booklet. So there's this weird period of experimentation right now. We're all just trying to figure out the right way to hold it, the right words to say to it, mostly through trial and error. But the reason we're all doing it is because the payoff is just huge. Because when you finally get it right, a powerful beam of laser erupts and melts your problem. Yeah, it's weird, it's kind of fallible, it's hard to understand, but if you can master this alien tool, it gives you a 10x power boost. It makes really complex problems just vanish. Okay, so a change this big, it doesn't just change your daily workflow, it completely reshapes the entire job market. So the big question is, what do our jobs actually look like in this new world? Well, the community seems to be settling on a new 3-tiered structure for the whole profession. This new market seems to be breaking down into 3 distinct levels. At the bottom, you've got your no-code creators. In the middle, which is the biggest group, you have the agentic engineers. And then at the very top, you have the core specialists. Let's break down what each of those really means. First up, Tier 1, the no-code creators. These are folks who really don't want to get their hands dirty with traditional coding. They're using these new platforms that are basically like Shopify, but for building complex apps. And we're already seeing wild examples, like one product manager who built what he called an insane app in 20 days, something that just a year ago would have taken a whole team of engineers months to build. Next up, Tier 2, the agentic engineers. This is where most software engineers today are probably gonna land. Your job isn't so much about writing every single line of code anymore. It's about understanding system architecture and being an expert at directing AI agents to build things for you. And what's fascinating is the experts don't predict job losses here. It's because of something called Jevons paradox, which basically says the more efficient you get at making something, in this case code, the more of it people want. And finally, at the very top, we have Tier 3, the core specialists. This is the elite group. These are the wizards behind the curtain who build the foundational tools everyone else relies on, the operating systems, the core libraries, you name it. This role is not going anywhere. In fact, you could argue it's more critical than ever, since they're the ones building the engine for this whole AI revolution.
So this massive change in the job market, it's also forcing a really profound change in the identity of a software engineer. It's not just about what you do every day, it's about how you see yourself. The whole philosophy of the job is changing. At its core, the identity is shifting from being a builder of machinery, someone who meticulously puts things together piece by piece, to becoming a steward of intent. And that means you're more like a guide or a director, steering these powerful but kind of fuzzy systems towards a specific goal.
So, what does being a steward of intent actually mean in practice? Well, it means the most valuable skill you can have is no longer writing perfect, clean code. The real scarce skill is high-level thinking. It's about looking at a big problem and deciding how to break it down, which parts need solid, predictable code, and which parts you can hand off to these new, unpredictable AI systems.
Here's a great way to think about it. You need to treat these AI tools less like a compiler, which is perfectly logical, it does exactly what you tell it to, and more like a junior collaborator. Think of it like a super smart, super fast intern. They're incredibly capable, but they operate on a strange, lossy interface. They might misunderstand you. So your job as the senior engineer is to give them clear instructions and then, check their work. Okay, so we've talked about the earthquake, we've talked about the alien tool and the new identity. This all leads to the one question that really matters. How do you actually survive and maybe even thrive in this crazy new era? Let's get into the practical advice that's bubbling up from the community. All right, here's your survival guide. First things first, ignore the noise. There are a million new AI tools popping up every day. You just need to master a few that actually work. Second, keep it simple. Honestly, a basic setup like VS Code with a good AI assistant is more than enough to get those 10x productivity gains. Third, focus on what's being called context engineering. That's the new core skill, learning how to feed your AI agents the right information so they can do their job properly. And, maybe most important of all, just build. And that really brings us full circle. The real skill issue that Karpathy talked about in his first post, it isn't about failing to master every new AI agent out there. The real issue, the real danger, is getting paralyzed by the constant flood of new tech and forgetting to focus on what actually matters. Good architecture, smart product decisions, and actually shipping things. So, contrary to what a lot of people thought, that AI would dumb down the profession, the reality is the complete opposite. All the boring, tedious work is getting automated away. And what's left is the really challenging, high-level conceptual work. The skill ceiling for a software engineer didn't get lower, it just got a whole lot higher. So the only question left is, are you ready to climb?